Revealed, Billionaire exposes the incredible truth about the secret child he denied for 12 years. James Foster couldn't believe his eyes as he read the headline blaring from his phone, a bolt of shock coursing through his veins. A secret child, Amelia, born to the man he had always called Dad, a billionaire who had hidden this part of his life like a dark cloud. The news had shattered the tranquil rhythm of Maplewood, where the smell of barbecues mingled with the laughter of children. James, a mechanic with grease under his nails and love in his heart, was just trying to raise his two kids, Lily and Max, on his own. Now, the foundation of their modest life felt like it was crumbling beneath them. In the days that followed, whispers filled the neighborhood like wildfire. "Did you hear about James? What a shame," they'd say. Yet, beneath the judgment, caring glances darted his way, hands outstretched to help. Despite their judgment, he felt the warmth of community wrapping around him. BBQs were no longer just meals, they became gatherings of support where he shared smiles, albeit with a tight chest, clinging to the hope that hard work and honesty could still carry him through. As the media frenzy continued, James's focus shifted to his kids, wanting nothing more than to shield them from the fallout of their grandfather's choices. But when a local station aired footage of Amelia, a young woman standing beside the very opulence James had long despised, his heart sank. She was beautifully dressed, a stark contrast to his jeans and worn-out boots. James hadn't known she existed, let alone that they were siblings, both caught in a web woven by their father's secrets. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The charity car show, vibrant and lively, became the stage where fate intertwined their paths. Amelia arrived, hesitant but hopeful. The joy of the event sunk deep into James, yet it was overshadowed by the storm brewing between them. People buzzed around the flashy cars, oblivious to the weight of brotherhood and betrayal looming in the balance. When he finally spotted her, confusion clouded his thoughts. She looked just like him, stunning with the same brown eyes, the same wayward smile. They were linked in ways they couldn't yet comprehend. Richard, their father, loomed behind them with all the grace of a towering mountain, imposing yet fragile. His wealth was plastered on every surface of his life, but as he attempted to bridge the gap between them, it felt as though the lavishness only highlighted their struggles. "Let's talk it out," he urged, but money wouldn't mend the chasms inside James. The carefully constructed world he knew felt like it was collapsing. In that moment of chaos, anger boiled beneath James's surface, clenching his fists as he fought a tidal wave of emotions. His kids deserved better than this facade of family. Was wealth worth the betrayal? Were they bound by blood or by the sins of their father? James felt Amelia glance at him, searching for a connection, a chance for something true, but all he could see was the shattering pieces of the life he had built. A silent pact formed in the air around them. Would they rise together from the ashes of Richard's legacy, or would they allow the scars of betrayal to fester? Uncertainty and hope tangled around them, echoing through each heartbeat as they faced what lay ahead. A sense of destiny hung thick in the air, igniting the question that lingered: could they carve out a path together, or would the weight of their father's sins forever keep them apart? The sun rose slowly over Maplewood the next morning, casting a light that felt almost foreign after the chaos of the past few days. Each ray seemed to carry the weight of uncertainty as James sat at the kitchen table, nursing a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. The kids were still asleep, blissfully unaware of the storm swirling in their father's heart. He looked out the window, watching the world free from dread. How was he supposed to explain this mess to them when he barely understood it himself? The buzzing of his phone interrupted his thoughts. It was a message from Amelia. "Can we talk?" It was simple and straightforward, yet it sent his mind racing. What did she want from him? Did she crave answers, too? Or was she just as lost as he was? He took a deep breath and replied with a yes, though he wondered if the meeting would bring clarity or confusion. The cafe downtown was lively when they met, a cacophony of laughter and chatter, a harsh contrast to the still feelings inside him. Amelia arrived, her expression a mix of excitement and trepidation. The barista poured their coffees, and they sat across from each other, like two long-lost children in a fairy tale, unsure where to begin. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, her voice soft yet steady. "I don't know how to process all of this." "Neither do I," James replied, trying to meet her earnest gaze. "I just found out about you, about my father's life. It's unreal." Amelia nodded, fiddling with her coffee cup. "I never wanted to be part of this mess," she admitted. "But he's done so much for me, taught me everything. Yet, I always felt like there was something missing. And now, here we are." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears that he felt a pang of empathy. Behind the facade of wealth lay her own struggles, her own life punctuated by the absence of honest connections. They were both fragments of the same picture, each carrying their own burdens. "What do you think will happen now?" James asked, hoping for her thoughts as he struggled to piece together his own. "Maybe we can help each other." Her voice was tentative. "I mean, you might not want anything to do with this family, but it's still part of my life," he interjected, his frustration simmering just beneath the surface. "Everything just turned upside down. I'm a mechanic, not a millionaire. I've spent years pushing my own father's legacy away, and now I have to face it." "Face you?" She reached across the table, tentatively placing her hand over his. "I don't want to be the reason your world collapses, James. I never asked for this either." His heart softened at her words, at their shared vulnerability. "I just want my kids to have a father who stands firm. I can't be distracted by this." He gestured around them, as if the noise of the cafe represented all the pressures from the outside world. Amelia's hand felt warm, comforting in this moment tangled with confusion. "Your father might have a lot, but that doesn't define us. We have the option to create our own path. Maybe it starts with talking, or even figuring out what we want from one another." As she spoke, hope flickered in James's chest. Could they reshape their identities, interconnected as they were by lineage but separate in circumstance? Before he could respond, a scream pierced the cafe, a child's voice. People turned, faces twisted in shock. James's heart raced as he stood up instinctively, ready to protect. He looked to Amelia, a silent question hanging in the air. What would they face next? "James," Amelia whispered, but her voice was drowned out by the chaos that followed. James's stomach turned as he scanned the cafe, searching for the source of the scream. A little girl, no older than 6, was standing near the door, tears streaming down her cheeks. She clutched a teddy bear to her chest, clearly frightened. Her mother rushed over, kneeling down to comfort her. In the midst of the clamor, everything else faded away for a moment. James felt an overwhelming need to help. It was instinct, an urge to protect innocence in the face of turmoil. "Are you okay?" he called out, stepping closer. The mother looked up at him, her own eyes wide with concern. "She's just scared." Someone bumped into her, and her voice trailed off, the weight of the moment crashing into them both. Amelia rose to join him. Together, they approached the little girl. "Hey there," James said softly, kneeling down to her level. "It's all right. You're safe now." The girl looked up, her wide brown eyes searching his face, and for a heartbeat, he felt a connection similar to the one he wished he could build with his own children. "Do you want to hold my hand?" he asked gently. With a hesitant nod, the girl reached out, finding comfort in his hold. As he stood, he realized he wasn't just offering her reassurance, it was a moment of clarity. In the chaos of the past couple of days, he had felt like he was losing control, but here, he was a protector. Amelia observed him, her face a mixture of surprise and admiration. "You're good with kids," she remarked softly, her tone warm. "It's what I do," he replied, shrugging off the compliment, but inside he felt a surge of pride. the library of emotions in his heart began to unravel. "I wish I could do the same for my own," he admitted, his voice almost cracking. "You will," Amelia said, her eyes steady and filled with conviction. "You can't let this change who you are as a father. You'll face tough questions, but they'll understand with time." With a deep breath, he nodded. Maybe this moment of connection wasn't just for the crying girl, maybe it was a lesson for him too. He couldn't control the past, but he could pave the way for the future. The cafe slowly returned to its normal rhythm. Laughter bubbled up again, and the commotion simmered down. The little girl, now quieter under the care of her mother, turned to James and smiled faintly. "Thank you," she whispered. He felt warmth flood his heart, a reminder that kindness could ripple out, even in the most overwhelming moments. As he returned to his seat with Amelia, an idea began to form. Maybe he and Amelia could lean into this connection not just about the legacy they shared, but as partners in redefining their futures. "I have an idea," he said suddenly, his voice steadier now. "What if we put together a plan? Something where we both dive into this mess together but on our terms." Amelia's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "You mean work together?" "Yeah. We could start by meeting with someone who knows more about my father's business and our options. And then?" He shrugged. "One step at a time, right? We can't ignore the past, but we can shape the future." Amelia smiled, a spark of excitement lighting up her face. "I'm in." But just then, the cafe doors swung open violently, and in walked a man whose presence seemed to suck the air from the room. He looked intense, wearing a suit that screamed authority. "James Taylor?" he called, his voice commanding. All eyes turned to them, including Amelia's, uncertainty swirling in the air again. James's heart raced. Who was this man, and what did he want? "Are you ready for the next revelation?" Amelia whispered, her grip tightening as she leaned closer. James felt a chill sweep through him as he stood frozen in place. The man's gaze bore into him, a mixture of challenge and expectation, as if he was waiting for James to make the first move. "Who wants to know?" James managed to reply, his voice steady despite the tumult of emotions within him. The man took a deliberate step forward, the cafe's ambient noise fading into a dull murmuring in the background. "I'm Nathan Blackwood. We need to talk about your father." The name hit James like a punch to the gut. Blackwood. All his childhood memories of whispered conversations and tense family dinners flooded back. "What do you know about him?" Nathan's expression softened, but only for a moment. "This concerns you more than you realize. Your father had secrets, big ones. And I have information that could change everything for you." Amelia's grip tightened around James's arm. He could feel her pulse quickening, her concern palpable. "What kind of secrets?" she whispered urgently. The man leaned closer, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial tone. "Your father was involved in a lot more than you think, James. The business, the connections, there's something I uncovered that ties directly to you." The air shifted, charged with unknown potential. James's mind raced. He had always felt there was more to the story, an unfinished narrative casting shadows over his life. "What do you mean?" His voice was barely above a whisper. "I have proof," Nathan said, his eyes glinting with intensity. "But it's not just about your father. It's about your family, your future. There's a lot at stake here." Each word seemed to gnaw at James's thoughts. He remembered mornings spent in silence, trying to decipher the man who had mostly been a haunting apparition in his life. More than anything, he wanted clarity and closure. "And you just waltz in here, expecting me to trust you?" James shot back defensively. Nathan raised his hands, as if to show he meant no harm. "I understand your skepticism. But what I have, it could change your perspective on more than just your father's legacy." With a sudden burst of determination, James said, "Fine. Where do we start?" "Tomorrow. I'll have everything you need to see," Nathan promised, his voice steady. But you must be prepared for the truth. It's not what you think. James swallowed hard, a knot tightening in his stomach. Reality lurked in every corner, each implication thickening the air around him. What makes you think I'm ready for anything? Because whether you like it or not, it's already a part of your life, Nathan replied, stepping back and surveying the cafe with interest, as if gauging the potential fallout of this encounter. Amelia glanced at James, her eyes searching his face. James, this could be the answers you've needed all along. His heart raced, but doubt gnawed at him. Could he handle what was coming next? Just then, the little girl with the teddy bear reappeared in his view. She tugged at the hem of her mother's shirt, glancing back at James as if sensing the storm brewing around him. Are you okay? She asked, her innocent sincerity cutting through the tension. The sweetness of her question held a mirror to his soul. I'm working on it, James replied, forcing a smile. As Nathan turned to leave, he cast one last look over his shoulder, his voice carrying weight. Prepare yourself for a revelation that will shatter everything you thought you knew. The door swung shut, sealing in the promise of chaos and clarity intertwined. James felt the burden of decision heavy on his shoulders. He could feel the weight of the past pulling him in one direction, while the flickering flame of hope pushed him toward an uncertain future. Are you ready for this? Amelia asked softly, her voice laced with concern and encouragement. I have to be, he replied, holding her gaze. Determination etched across his face, but deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that what lay ahead was more than just an unraveling of secrets, it would be a reckoning, one that could change everything. As they exited the cafe, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows long and deep. A sense of urgency buzzed in the air, whispering promises of revelations just within reach. What do you think it is? Amelia pondered, her thoughts clearly racing. James hesitated, gazing out into the twilight. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's going to be big. And I can't turn back now, can I? No longer was this about the past. It was a pivotal moment, one where every decision, every secret could redefine who he was meant to be. Yet, a sliver of fear lingered as he stepped into the unknown, pondering what revelation awaited him in the confrontations to come. And as they walked away, the question lingered: how far was he willing to go to uncover the truth? The next day arrived too quickly for James. The sun glared through his bedroom window, yet even its brightness didn't chip away at the heaviness in his chest. He tossed and turned, visions of Nathan's intense gaze replaying like a relentless loop in his mind. Could he really unearth the truth about his father? As he dressed, Amelia called out from the kitchen, I made coffee. You can't face whatever today brings without some caffeine. Yeah, I'll be right there, he replied, forcing a smile. When he joined her, the smell of brewing coffee hung in the air. Amelia was perched on the edge of the counter, her fingers anxiously drumming against the cool surface. She glanced up at him, worry etched across her face. Are you sure about this? Meeting Nathan? James hesitated, mug in hand. I don't think I have a choice. I need to know. Amelia nodded, her expression softening. Just remember to breathe. Whatever he tells you, you're not alone. Her reassurance warmed him, but it couldn't quiet the relentless questions swirling in his mind. What if his father's secrets were too dark to handle? What if they redefined everything he knew about himself? Later, as he waited outside the designated cafe, he noticed the world around him buzzing with activity. People rushed by, engaged in their own lives, while he stood at the precipice of something monumental, feeling utterly out of place. When Nathan arrived, looking equally intense, James felt a shiver run down his spine. You're here, Nathan stated, almost as if confirming James's commitment to this path. Let's get to it, James replied, squaring his shoulders. Inside, they settled at a small table tucked away in a corner, the ambience buzzing with muted conversations and the clinking of cups. Nathan wasted no time. Your father was involved in business dealings that were far deeper than what the family portrayed. There were threats, money exchanges, people who went missing. James's heart raced at the words. He leaned in closer, preparing himself for what might come next. And me? Where do I fit into all of this? Nathan placed a manila folder on the table, sliding it toward James. Everything you need to know is right here. James couldn't shake the feeling that the air had thickened around him. He opened the folder with trembling fingers, revealing documents, photographs, and an unsettling timeline that made the fabric of his past unravel before his eyes. Some of these names they're familiar, James muttered, staring at one photograph in particular. It was a familiar face, one that was supposed to be long gone, buried in the recesses of his childhood memories. Wait, I know her. Nathan's eyes darkened. That's the problem. She shouldn't be in your life at all, yet here we are. A mix of anger and confusion surged through James. What do you mean? Your father hid a lot, James. Family dynamics can twist and turn in ways we never expect. What you thought was your history is only half the truth. His pulse quickened. He felt like he was on the brink of a discovery that could change everything about his identity. So, who am I really? Nathan leaned back, assessing him. That's what this journey is about, to find your truth amidst all the lies. The weight of Nathan's words hung in the air like a storm threatening to break. James's thoughts spiraled. How had he never seen any of this before? Had his father really kept secrets so critical? I need answers, he said, his voice steady now, though dread clung to him like a heavy cloak. Get ready, Nathan replied. Because once we dive deeper, you might not like what we unearth. James could almost feel the ground beneath him shifting. The truth was within reach, but a strange, deep-seated fear lingered at the edges of his mind. What if the answers fractured his world rather than healing it? As they delved into the documents, a name reverberated through his thoughts, its echo threatening to drown out everything else. The past loomed large, waiting to reveal its secrets. But would he be ready for what lay deeper within? How far do you think he went to keep this all hidden? James asked, curiosity piqued. Nathan met his gaze, a flicker of sympathy shining through. You'd be surprised what people will do to protect their loved ones or their secrets. James swallowed hard, contemplating the journey ahead. The stakes had never been higher, and the path to truth was riddled with uncertainties. As they began to uncover layers of deception, one question still loomed large: could he confront the truth, no matter the cost? James flipped through the pages of the folder, each document a punch to his gut. The names jumped out at him, relatives he barely knew, a mini-family history that felt branded by shadows. How could the same man who tucked him in at night also be tangled in a web of deceit? A hidden life, Nathan murmured, watching James's reactions closely. You're not just uncovering your father's past, you're finding out about your own. James ran a hand through his hair, a wave of frustration crashing over him. But this doesn't make sense. How could he keep this from me? Nathan leaned forward, his voice low. When it comes to family secrets, people do the unthinkable. Your father was desperate to protect you from the truth. What truth? James's voice rose, surprising even himself. The cafe's bustle seemed to fade, leaving them in a bubble of tension. What could possibly justify lying to me about my own family? Sometimes, Nathan hesitated, pulling a document from the folder, the truth is darker than we expect. Your father did what he thought was best to shield you. But in doing so, he built a wall. And now, it's crumbling. James closed his eyes for a moment, letting the weight of Nathan's words settle over him. You make it sound like he thought I couldn't handle it. Maybe he thought he was protecting you. Or maybe he thought you wouldn't want to know, Nathan replied, his eyes searching James's for understanding. But we can't rewrite history. We can only confront it. He opened the folder further, revealing a photograph of a woman standing in front of an old house. She looked familiar in ways that twisted something inside him. Is this her? Yes. And she has a connection to everything we're about to uncover, Nathan replied, his tone turning serious. She is part of your past, and she might hold the key to revealing more about your father and you. James squinted at the image, a sense of deep discomfort creeping in. Why does it feel like every answer leads to more questions? Because life is never straightforward. Sometimes, what we think we want to know is much more complicated. Nathan's gaze deepened, a promise twinkling in his eyes. But I believe you're ready to unravel it. This isn't just your father's legacy, it's yours. The caffeine from the coffee no longer felt like an energizer, it thrummed like a ticking clock, matching the racing thoughts in his mind. What lay beneath this family facade? What's my first step? Nathan smiled, breaking through the tension like the sun breaking through clouds. First, we trace her. Find out why she was cut out of your life. Why your father felt the need to erase her. And maybe, just maybe, we can piece together who you really are. James felt a surge of determination. Let us do it, he said, steadying his breath. He reached for the role of investigator, ready to confront the ghosts of his past. As they stood up to leave, a message on Nathan's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his face darkening. We might need to move faster than I expected. Someone is watching. An unsettling chill traveled down James's spine. What do you mean? Just that the deeper we get, the more people want us digging up the past. It's not just your father's secrets we're handling, it seems we've caught someone else's attention. James clenched his fists, a cocktail of fear and anger mixing inside him. Let them watch. I'm not stepping back now. As they exited the cafe, the world around him pulsed with possibilities. But lurking in the shadows of that world was danger waiting to spring. Just how far would he have to go to uncover the truth, and would it be worth the risk? The afternoon light was waning as James and Nathan stepped onto the bustling street, the crisp autumn air tasting of change. James felt a fire in his chest, the kind he hadn't known in a long time. Maybe it was adrenaline or the heady promise of discovery, but it pressed him forward, drawing him into the unknown. Where do we start? James asked, glancing around like a man on the brink of something monumental. Nathan pulled up his phone. Let us track down her last known address. We need to see if she is still there or if we're walking into a dead end. James felt his heart race again. What if this woman held the answers he needed? What if she could explain the choices his father had made? As they walked, the city felt charged with energy, public life swirling around them in a blur. But inside, he felt like a taut string, ready to snap at any moment. You seem awfully calm for someone who just said we might be in danger, he quipped, trying to lighten the mood. Nathan chuckled softly but his eyes remained sharp. Confidence comes with preparation. Just stay alert. They reached a run-down neighborhood, the kind that spoke of faded dreams and desperate hopes. The houses leaned slightly, worn by time and neglect. James rubbed the back of his neck, feeling a chill not from the weather but from something brewing in his gut. As they approached the address Nathan had found, a knot twisted tighter in James's stomach. He couldn't shake the feeling that the answers they sought could shatter the last illusions he had about his family. This is it, Nathan said, stopping in front of a small, peeling house with a sagging porch. It looked forgotten, like many things in James's past. Are we sure she'll even be here? James asked, uncertainty creeping into his voice. There's only one way to find out, Nathan replied, stepping up to the front door. He knocked firmly, each rap echoing in the silence that followed. James's pulse quickened. What if it was all a mistake? What if she didn't want to talk? Moments stretched as they waited, the sound of rustling leaves weaving through their nerves. Then, slowly, the door creaked open, revealing a woman who seemed to carry the weight of the world in her weary eyes. Can I help you? She asked, her voice cautious but not unfriendly. James's breath hitched. The woman standing there looked so much like him. There was an eeriness in the similarity, one that smacked of recognition like staring into a mirror that reflected a past he never knew. Are you Mary? He managed, his courage faltering. Her brow furrowed, and James could almost see the wheels turning in her mind, wondering how they knew her name. Who wants to know? James felt the wall of defenses go up in her posture. I'm James. I'm looking for answers about my father. The silence thickened between them, slicing through the air like a knife. Mary's expression shifted, betrayal flaring on her face. Your father? Why are you asking about him? This was it. The moment everything could change, the answer to the questions reverberating in his heart. Because my father lied about his past. About you. About us. A flicker of pain crossed her features, and in that split second, James knew he was standing at the edge of a chasm that could consume him whole. I don't want anything to do with him, she snapped, finally breaking the tension. And I don't think you should, either. It felt like the ground was shifting beneath him. I'm not here to take sides, James said quickly. I just need to know the truth. Mary's gaze softened, almost imperceptibly. The truth? You have no idea what you're asking for, she murmured, looking away. It's a dark path. Then take me down it, James urged, desperation creeping into his voice. Her eyes met his, weighing something heavy that shifted through the air between them. The moment felt charged, and James held his breath, waiting. Before she could respond, a shadow flickered in the corner of his eye. A figure stood across the street, watching. James, we need to leave. Now, Nathan's voice broke through the moment's fragile intensity. But. James couldn't pull himself away. No. I need this. Nathan grabbed his arm, urgency bleeding into his tone. We'll come back. We can't risk it right now. Not with someone watching. James felt torn, but Nathan's grip felt like a lifeline. His heart pounded against his ribs as he stole one last look at Mary, whose expression was a mixture of sadness and fear. Let us go, Nathan muttered, already moving away. James hesitated and then followed, a storm of emotions swirling inside. The truth was within reach, but now it felt farther than ever. Their footsteps echoed on the pavement, a chilling reminder of how close he had come to understanding his past and how the present was willing to fight back. As they blended into the crowd, James couldn't shake the feeling that they were running not just from a watchful eye, but from his own fate. What did he just uncover? And more importantly, could he find the truth without losing himself in the process? James hurried through the crowded street, Nathan's grip on his arm propelling him forward. As they moved, his heart raced, each pounding beat pulling him deeper into a spiral of confusion and frustration. The fleeting image of Mary's face stayed etched in his mind, eyes filled with unspoken pain, echoing words that felt like a storm brewing inside him. I can't believe we just walked away, James muttered, urgency creeping into his voice. On the outside, he marched ahead, but inside, he felt like he was drowning in uncertainty. Nathan glanced back at him, brows knitted in concern. You wanted answers, and now you have to rethink how to get them safely. We can't just rush in blind, especially with someone watching. The thought of being watched sent shivers down his spine. Who was that figure? What did they want? Everything felt like it was spiraling out of his control. But what if she knows something I need to know? He shot back, his frustration bubbling over. Then we'll figure it out. Nathan replied sharply, startling James with the intensity behind his words. But only if we're smart about it. As they dodged between bustling pedestrians, James's mind was a war zone. He loved his father, despite the lies. But the truth about his past, his identity, felt like a ticking time bomb, waiting to explode into chaos. He sensed that this journey could change everything he believed about himself. Nathan pulled him into a nearby cafe, a small sanctuary away from the open street. The warm, muted glow inside was a stark contrast to the chill creeping through James's skin. As they settled into a corner booth, Nathan leaned forward, eyes piercing with urgency. If we go back, it has to be on our terms. We need intel. We need to understand her before we confront her again. James pressed his palms into the table, frustration simmering just beneath the surface as he watched the murmur of conversations around him. "She's my only lead," he muttered, almost to himself, feeling utterly helpless. How could he untangle the mess of his father's choices without Mary's input? "Then let us do some digging. We can look into her life, see if anyone knows her, or if she has a routine." Nathan's calm, steady demeanor helped Franklin find a bit of balance. "That makes sense," James said, leaning back slightly. "You think we can find someone who can tell us more about her? Maybe friends or someone she trusts?" "Exactly. There are always threads to pull," Nathan advised, his enthusiasm returning. "Let us make a plan." They spent the next hour sketching out their next steps, fueled by coffee and determination. James felt a flicker of hope. This time, it felt different. This time, he was ready to face the ghosts of his past. As they left the cafe armed with a strategy, an unsettling feeling settled back into James's chest. The sun was starting to dip beneath the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. But despite the beauty of the sunset, he felt a heaviness follow him like a shadow. It was as if something was lurking just out of sight, waiting for the moment to strike. Suddenly, Nathan stopped. "Hey, look!" He pointed across the street. A familiar figure leaned against a lamppost. It was Mary, seemingly waiting for someone. James's heart skipped a beat. "What is she doing here?" he whispered, almost afraid to breathe. Nathan narrowed his eyes. "We should keep our distance. She might be meeting someone." Just then, Mary turned and glanced in their direction, her eyes locking onto James's for a heartbeat before they darted away. A storm raged in her gaze, an urgency that made James want to take a step toward her. "James, wait," Nathan said, pulling him back. "This isn't a good idea." But James's instincts were screaming at him to move closer. He felt the pull of destiny and unasked questions, every part of him pushing for understanding. "I have to know what is going on," he said, the determination in his voice making his heart race. The tangled web he'd been trying to unravel was right there before him, and he couldn't just let it slip away. He took a step forward, leaving Nathan behind. "James, wait." Nathan called out, but the moment had already shifted. As James approached Mary, he felt the weight of everything close in on him. This was at the moment everything would collide. Whatever truth she held, he was ready to face it, no matter the cost. His heart pounded in his chest, every step feeling consequential, as he closed the distance between them. But before he could speak, a low growl resonated from the street, and James turned to see that same figure following him. Who were they, and why did they seem to be locked onto Mary? With his heart pounding louder than ever, he took a deep breath as the confrontation loomed ahead. But would he get the answers he craved, or would he uncover something much darker? James's breath caught in his throat as he stood frozen, the world around him blurring into a background haze. That figure, dark and menacing, loomed closer, overshadowing the urgency of reconnecting with Mary. It was as if the air had thickened, pressing against him, urging him to either flee or fight. "James." Nathan's grip tightened on his shoulder, grounding him for a moment. "We can't let ourselves get caught in the open." We have to. Searing adrenaline surged through him. "No." He cut Nathan off, his voice louder than intended. The affirmation of fear loving the possibility of truth coalesced into a single, burning thought. "I need to talk to her." Mary's eyes flickered to his again. This time, they held a mixture of recognition and alarm, a reminder that deep inside, beneath the layers of their shared history, something vital remained. He took a step toward her, heart racing against the alarm bells clanging in his mind. "James. Think this through," Nathan warned, his voice urgent but fading as James ignored every rational caution and pushed forward. "Mary." His voice sliced through the din of the street, cutting through isolation, and she turned, eyes wide and wary. The closeness tugged at something deep inside him. It was as if years distilled into this very moment, a reckoning waiting to happen. "What are you doing here?" she asked, the breathlessness catching in her throat. Anxiety etched her features. She stepped back, instinctively distancing herself, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "Are you okay?" James blurted, surprisingly softer than he intended. "Why did you leave?" "I need to know." Before he could continue, the figure emerged fully, casting a long shadow between them. It was a man, his features shrouded in darkness but undeniably aggressive in stance. James felt his blood run cold. There was something menacing in the way the stranger positioned himself, as if enforcing a boundary around Mary. "I suggest you move along," the stranger said, voice low and gravelly, barely containing an underlying threat. "Stay away from her." James's protective instincts surged with an intensity that rattled his bones. He glanced at Nathan, who was just a few steps back, eyes sharp, trying to assess the situation. He was on high alert, but it was all fracturing away from anything James could control. Mary's gaze darted between the two men, panic flickering like candlelight. "You don't understand," she said urgently, raising her hands slightly, as if she could bridge the tension just with her presence. "I didn't want you to find me like this." "Then tell me." James felt the desperation in his voice, wrestling to keep his composure. "Tell me everything." A flicker of something. Was it regret? Crossed Mary's face before she shook her head, seemingly overwhelmed. That moment of vulnerability quieted the world around them. But in the silence hung the peril of unspoken consequences. James took a step closer, and before he could catch himself, words spilled from him. "You have answers I need. I can't let this go." Just as Mary opened her mouth to respond, the figure advanced, a motion so sudden it made James's skin crawl. "I said, move along," he growled, stepping forward. "Back off," Nathan shouted now, stepping protectively in front of James. The intensity of his voice snapped a tense line in the chaotic atmosphere. Mary's voice softened, a plea lingering in her eyes. But before she could finish, the mysterious man lunged. The moment stretched infinitely, time slowed down as every muscle in James's body tensed. "No." He reacted without thinking, thrusting himself between Mary and the man. The fear burned sharp in his chest as he prepared to face whatever was coming. Then, with a flash, everything surged forward, a mass of movement and unrecognized emotions running rampant, uprooting any intention of clarity. The mundane street had transformed into a battlefield, fear and adrenaline mingling thick in the air, and the chaos that erupted. Voices rose loud, danger swelling. Mary's startled gasp was cut short by a street echoing with confusion. "Save her," the thought crystallized in James's mind, as he braced himself for the clash. But what if while he fought to protect Mary, he uncovered something darker than he ever imagined? As the whirlwind engulfed them, the only certainty was this: he had to unveil the truth, even if it meant facing ghosts he wasn't prepared for. But was he prepared to discover the depths of what lay ahead? Adrenaline surged through James as he pushed himself between Mary and the threatening figure. The air was tense, charged like a live wire ready to snap. Every instinct screamed at him to protect her, but the fear slithered around his heart. What was he really stepping into? "Get away from her!" Nathan shouted, his voice cracking through the haze of chaos, but James hardly heard him. His focus was solely on the threat before him. The man's eyes narrowed, reflecting an intensity that hinted at the dangerous lengths he would go to maintain control. "This is none of your business, kid," he barked, his voice low and demanding as he placed himself closer, intimidating, fearsome, and ready for violence. James's pulse quickened, but he stood firm, resolve hardening in his gut. "I won't let you hurt her." Mary's hand fluttered outward, fingers trembling as if to reach for him while panic surged within her. "You don't know what you're dealing with, James." "Enough." The man snarled, swinging his arm, trying to intimidate, drawing attention from the bustling crowd enveloping them. With a sudden rush of desperation, James felt a flicker of courage ignite. He didn't just want answers anymore, he wanted to stand up to the shadows that had loomed over his family for too long. "You can't hide from the truth," he shouted, each word bouncing off the walls that had confined him for years. and then Mary took a bold step into the fray, placing herself protectively behind James. "He is not the monster you think he is." Her voice rang out, firm and steady, dispelling some of the tension. "I've kept secrets too, but we can't keep running." The man's eyes shifted, confusion flickering through the aggression. James felt a pulse of strange hope. Was she taking a stand for him too? "Mary, don't." He blurted out, fear clenching his insides. "What are you doing?" "I'm done hiding," she replied, her voice thick with emotion. "I have to confront my past too. It's time." For a brief moment, the man's demeanor wavered. But James could see the danger lurking behind the confusion, the threat still alive in the air. Then it happened without a second of hesitation, the man lunged. A primal roar erupted from James, a guttural sound bursting from the depths of his being. Instinct kicked in, and he surged forward to push Mary behind him, shoulder colliding with the man. The hit knocked them both off balance, crashing into a nearby market stand, a cascade of fruits tumbling into the street. The loud thud resonated like thunder in James's soul. "Run!" He shouted at Mary, but she was already moving. As she slipped past him to take cover, a weight lifted. James realized he wasn't just fighting for answers anymore. He was fighting to protect the fragile connections he had with family. Nathan was right beside him, eyes scanning the street, ready to assist. Together, they tackled the man, fists flying, adrenaline fueling their rage. Every blow was more than just self-defense, it was an awakening. James's heart raced with each emotion coursing through him: fear, anger, hope, and an unyielding resolve beat in his chest. He could feel the darkness starting to dissipate. With one last shove, the man stumbled back, scrambling to regain composure amidst the chaos. In that moment of confusion, James saw an opening. "We won't let you control her. We'll find the truth," he yelled, breathing heavily. The crowd began to shift, a mixture of onlookers drawn in by the spectacle. But instead of retreating, they nudged closer, some recording, others whispering words of encouragement. Among them, a familiar face caught his eye: Lily and Max, their faces eclipsed with worry. "Daddy!" Lily cried out, hopping forward. James felt a rush of warmth flood his heart, anchoring him. He turned to Mary, seeing her resolve mirrored by his children's innocence. "Can you get them out of here?" he asked Nathan, his voice steady now. "On it." Nathan was quick to scoop them up, shielding them from the scene unfolding before them. James took a breath. Standing between his family and the man now gathering himself, he felt the weight of the moment solidify. "I know who I am," he stated clearly, each word slipping from his lips with conviction. "And I'm not afraid of the truth anymore." Their eyes met, and the man's bravado faltered. The rage mingling with uncertainty flickered in the air like a forgotten dream. "You don't know what you're asking for," he said, but James was done asking. He stepped forward, his heart pounding but unwavering. The truth was in reach, and he had already decided to grasp it. "Maybe I do. We're done living in shadows." The man recoiled slightly, an unexpected flicker of fear crossing his face. "This isn't over." "We'll see," James replied. As the chaotic scene began to fade into the distant sound of sirens, James felt a sense of clarity wash over him. He and Mary were no longer just people connected by a shared past, they were united now by a commitment to forge their futures together. With courage swelling in his chest, James turned to Mary. "Are you ready for this?" She nodded, eyes bright with a mix of apprehension and fierce determination. "Let us uncover it all, together." As they moved forward into the unknown, a wave of relief surged through him. The tangled threads of family secrets no longer bound him. Instead, they formed a new tapestry, one filled with hope, resilience, and the belief that, together, they could rewrite their story, one defined by truth, not shadows. With newfound purpose, they stepped into the crowd, ready to face whatever came next. And as the sunset painted the sky in hues of gold, James finally felt he was stepping towards something beautiful, something that could finally set them free. you need to subscribe now to join James on this transformative journey. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the inspiring stories coming. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your support is everything.